Our next topic is externalities. Externalities are an impact of a market's actions on the well-being of people outside the market who are not participating in the market transaction in which the impacted people are not compensated. These people are called bystanders. Externalities can cause markets to be inefficient, which means they no longer maximize total surplus. If an externality is large enough, it can cause the market to fail. It can happen that an externality is a bad thing. These are called negative externalities. In this case, the bystander is harmed by the market activity, even though they are not participating in the exchange. This means that the social cost of the market product is larger than the private cost. Since supply is derived solely from the private cost, the result is an equilibrium point at a higher market clearing quantity and a lower price than the optimum, which is a function of the social cost of the product. In economics, we represent this graphically with a social cost curve that is higher than the private supply curve by the value of that extra cost. It can also happen that an externality is a good thing. These are called positive externalities. In this case, the bystander benefits from the market activity, even though they are not participating. This means that the social value of the market product is larger than the private value. Since demand is derived solely from the private value, the result in this case is an equilibrium point at a lower market clearing quantity and price than the optimum, which is a function of the social value of the product. We represent this graphically as a social demand curve that is higher than the private demand curve by the value of the externality. In the case of a positive externality, there is a deadweight loss if the market does not take all of the social value into account. It's represented by the black shape on this graph. There are quite a few options for dealing with externalities. If it is possible for the private sector to solve the problem without intervention by a government, we call those private solutions. There are several possibilities for private solutions, including things as varied as social pressure, or integrating different businesses, or internalizing the externality through some sort of contractual agreement. Frequently, though, it is necessary for a government to become involved. And those solutions are called public solutions or government solutions. Public solutions include various forms of regulations, taxation, or subsidy of the product being produced, or of the externality itself, as well as options like licensing, patenting, or tradable permits. A tax on the externality itself is called a Pigovian tax. If a government becomes involved in solving an externality, they can use any of the options they have available interchangeably. This is an example of a market that is producing a negative externality, specifically pollution. If the government responsible for this segment of the market wants to ensure that pollution does not exceed 6 units, they can do so using either a tax or a regulation. Achieving the desired result is a matter of calibrating the tax or regulation appropriately. On the left-hand graph, the government chooses to set a Pigovian tax of $4 per unit, which results in 6 units of pollution. On the right-hand graph, you can see what happens if the government chooses to set a limit of 6 units on the amount of pollution that the industry is allowed to produce. In either case, the policies lead to the same result, 6 units of pollution.